We are legends.
Welcome to WeRRR Legends, the unofficial podcast for DC Legends Mobile. I am Slowbeast, and with me as always is Hate Mail. We have a lot to talk about today, so let's get right into it.
Breaking news.
First off, we have the 1 year anniversary. We'd like to talk about some of the things that DC Legends has given to us on this anniversary. First, we had the 10 Void scanner for 10 gold. Hero pack of 20 to 100 hero fragments for 1K, limited to 10 purchases. And the villain pack, 20 to 100 fragments for 1K, limited to 10 purchases. What were your thoughts on these anniversary gifts from DC?
The gifts themselves I didn't think were terrible, even though the hero pack and the villain pack really weren't great for anyone who's been playing the game for a long time, because you likely have too many fragments of plenty of the characters, and I just didn't feel like it was a good gift for veteran players who hung around through all the ups and downs throughout the year. The only reason to kind of get the pack was there was a glitch with Steppenwolf in the villain pack, so I did try my hand at that a few times, and then, as you know from our old World of Warcraft days, my luck on drops is horrendous, and
You are the unluckiest RNG guy ever.
I got Bane, which anyone and everyone who's been playing has 8,000 shards of Bane, and then I got Harley Quinn, which I already have enough to take her to Legendary 5 a couple times over. So I was pretty disappointed in my pulls and stopped buying them at that point.
I actually got in on this. I was a little upset that they gave us the 10 Void scanner for 10 gold. They could have just gave us the 10 Void scanners. I mean, it is the anniversary. But I did buy one hero pack and one villain pack. I also did not get Steppenwolf. Another post that we want to discuss about from DMGINC, who's the leader of Action Comics, and he thinks the game's in trouble if there's not a big update soon, and his teammates agree. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and just for those of you who don't know who he is, he's the leader of Action Comics, and they're almost, for the last 15 weeks or so, they've been the top alliance in the game, so a lot of them are the big spenders, and they play pretty heavily, and, you know, he posted on the official forums that, you know, he's not pessimistic, but he was a little upset that the people are leaving and that there hasn't been a big update. In our alliance, the Court of Owls, which we're regularly a top 10 and we have some big players, we've lost a lot of people over the last couple of weeks, and it just seems like we've been seeing that more and more. And I know for myself and a lot of the people out there that we really expected, even if there wasn't a big PvE content announcement or a drop, like officially, that we would get an announcement of, hey, this is coming in a month or 2 months or whatever it is. We're all dying for that raid. And when you think about it, the only thing that's been added since this game has started is red alerts for PvE content. Lots of new characters and all that stuff's great, but after a year, you kind of hope that you would see something else new to do.
Sure.
I also wanted to mention that one of the player who's got almost every Legendary 5, he wrote a dissertation, and I literally mean a dissertation. It was 7,500 words. He posted it, Google Doc file, to the Reddit board and the official forums, and it was actually very well written. There was a lot of interesting things in there, and he just broke down where he thinks the game is. He's optimistic about the future of the game, but he's a little concerned that we're losing some people that we may not ever be able to get back if they don't do something in the relative near future.
As someone who left the game and came back, I can actually attest to the fact that ritual, that habit of opening up your phone and going straight to the DC Legends to see the newest thing, that is something, once you break it, I could see how it would be concerning that if people did leave, it'd be hard to bring them back. But let's move on to some other changes. We had some changes to the Alliance missions. Now, instead of 3 characters for your Alliance rewards, you have 5 characters to choose from. This week, Aquamoa is going to be worth plus 5 points to any Alliance challenge that you complete. Some of the list is going to give you plus 2, and others will give you plus 1. So this absolutely changes the amount of Alliance shards that you're going to be receiving. We don't know if there's a personal cap currently, but we do know that there's a daily goal, and it appears to be 31,200.
Yeah, you can get 31,200 of the Alliance shards, which are the Alliance points, which looks like, we believe that's the top cap. I heard someone talk about it in one of the message boards. I haven't seen what the personal cap is. I'm assuming there is one, but it seems like it's very high. The new Alliance missions and the way they've restructured it, I think is fantastic. You can actually get a ton of shards, even if you're not a regular top 10, top 1 Alliance. I actually think that the rewards for being in the top tiers is actually too low now in comparison, because you figure even if you're the number 1 Alliance, you're only getting 40,000 Alliance points, which you can get over 30,000 as a team, not to mention what you're getting individually, so you're going to get more than 40,000 per day. So I hope they up those rewards. If they don't, it's not a big deal. Just being able to get all these shards for characters that you like with these new PvP packs. One other thing I want to mention too is that they have the 3 new packs. They're just like the PvP ones, where the 10,000 Alliance points get you 16 character shards, but in addition to that, you get gear drops, energy. So it's actually extremely good, and the characters you actually get from these drop packs are a lot of the rarer ones. Even myself, that has gazillions of characters. I only have 1 character that's not Legendary 1, but there's only 2 characters in the packs that I don't need at all. So I'm pretty excited. Having Wonder Woman Champion of the Amazons in a common pack is awesome. So that's good job on this front, Warner Brothers.
Yeah, it seems to be a positive change. The community seems to be pretty happy about it. I do like the fact, like you said, that we have some characters that you can't get anywhere, or well, not anywhere. They're limited characters. It's a nice change, and I believe they said that they're going to be changing those characters regularly.
I have a feeling it's going to be like PvP, where every month or every 2 to 3 months we'll see those swap out. One thing I did notice was that the daily heroes that you can buy with shards that you can choose seem to be the old ones, so I'm not sure if they're going to update that. It doesn't appear they didn't for Monday, or today's Monday, excuse me. So at the end of the day today, when the thing ends, they may change that, and we may even see new Alliance rewards at the end of today. So we're recording this Sunday morning, so we haven't seen what that change will be.
That'd be great if they could stay on top of that and give a variety. Like you said, we're going to be getting lots of shards to spend, so it'd be nice to see a variety of characters to get with that. And it sounds like with an update from a post from the devs that possibly a PvP update coming soon?
Yeah, they just hinted at that. It was in the 1-year anniversary. It was in the last sentence. It says, "We can't wait to share with you what we're working on the year ahead." Did someone mention PvP updates? So that's going to be a obvious welcome change. And one of the biggest complaints from myself and a lot of the other community members is once you have a slew of characters and you've geared out, it almost seems like you're punished in PvP, where you only get +5s and defensive wins are pretty much worthless right now. So any kind of change that doesn't punish you for having a geared set of characters and then makes it a little more fair, I think across the board would be welcome. Or if they just add some kind of new PvP modes or something. I think we're all ready for some kind of adjustments.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about mobile gaming and you think about the community that we're in, I feel like PvP is probably pushing this community forward. So it's definitely something that I'd like to see them do some work on and possible changes in the future to help the community.
To learn my teachings, I must first teach you how to learn.
All right, let's get into some in-depth character analysis. This week you broke down Batman TDK as well as Aquamoa, and you've got some videos on YouTube of both of these characters. If you want to talk about, let's start with Batman TDK, the Dark Knight. If you want to talk about the Legendary Order recommendation and what teams you like him with.
I actually surprised myself. I pushed off gearing out TDK because I didn't think Batman the Dark Knight would be very good, but I'm actually finding him to be extremely useful. He shuts down Harley, he is great against Deathstroke, and he is a true tank. I mean, he's extremely hard to kill. And one other thing I noticed is I've been running a bunch of teams with him, and then after running for a few days with him as in my lineup, I suddenly had a bunch of defensive wins. So he must be doing pretty well in defense. I've rarely faced him when out playing, so I don't think a lot of people are using him much. But he seems to work pretty well, and he fits into most teams. Currently, I'm recommending for my Legendary Order 2, 1, 3, 4, 5, and the only ones I feel like you really need are 2, 1, and 3. I actually didn't even take him to Legendary 4 yet because I didn't feel like the other two were great. But his second ability, Equalizer, being able to stun the target if they're taunting, obviously against Harley, against Lobo, against Wonder Woman, Defender of Justice. Those are all extremely useful. You're starting to see more Supermen to counter Baby Lobo, so when he taunts, you can shut him down. And then the next one you definitely want is his first ability, the Full Armor Beatdown. It'll give him 17% shield when he attacks, so just stacking up that shield so you're unkillable makes him extremely useful. And then his third ability, which you won't cast as often, but getting 7 mends if you're in a tight battle. Because I've had it where it's ended, and you'll see in some of the videos during this podcast, you'll see where it's just him and 2, like Deathstroke and maybe one other character, and he can whittle them down and actually win the match by himself. So he's a lot better than I originally gave him credit for.
All right, so Batman the Dark Knight gets a hate mail stamp of approval. I'm going to have to start working on gearing him out.
He's really good too, and when you do the tanky teams, if you're a free-to-play player or you don't have a huge roster, most of the time you're going to have Green Lantern. So he pairs well with him because he'll have shields immediately, and both him and Green Lantern are extremely difficult to kill. So I definitely think he's a good, well-rounded character. I'm surprised at how much I liked him.
All right, and if you want to break down Aquamoa?
Aquamoa I just started using, so I don't have a ton of comments on him. Right now, the Legendary Order, most people are recommending, and I agree with. I took him to level 72. I played with him a lot yesterday and this morning. I'll play with him a lot more this week, so I'll probably have a bigger opinion on him next week. But right now, I would go with his number 5 first. Getting the extra crit chance up from his ability is definitely the first pick. The second one I would go for is the order I would go is 5, 2, 1, 4, 3. And his second ability, getting that crit damage plus 70%, that ability seems like it hits even harder than his Splash Zone a lot of times, even when you have a ton of crits. So it's one you tend to want to go to more often. Then I would definitely go with his Hang 10 so you can get the call assist from a random ally. So when he does critical strike, he'll get that call assist, which can be useful. His fourth ability gives 2 agility ups to the first ally that takes damage. I mean, it's not great, but it's fairly useful. And then the last ability decreases the cooldown of Splash Zone. I don't really see Splash Zone being that fantastic. Maybe it's just because I haven't used him enough. But I've been a little underwhelmed with him. It's not that he's a bad character, but actually his biggest detriment is his speed. He's too fast, which in the old days you would have never said that.
Yeah, I can't imagine that.
But the problem is that, half the teams you face out there are running Harley Quinn, and he goes before Wonder Woman DOJ, he goes before Terra, he goes before Batman the Dark Knight, he goes before anybody that would either remove buffs or nullify Harley. So, and he doesn't have any self-buffing abilities, so when you cast his attack, if he misses, he gets nuked by Harley, sometimes killed if she gets lucky crits, or taken down to very little life. He just doesn't survive. And because you're facing red-heavy teams, another Mystic that doesn't do anything but a lot of damage, I don't find particularly useful. I'm thinking that when Steppenwolf comes out, I just have a feeling that he may be a faster character. And I could be wrong if he's going to be a tanky character, but if he's faster and goes before Aquamoa, to apply some evasions down, he'll be great. But in this current meta, I don't know if I would recommend gearing him out at this point. He does work well with, I like him with the teams you want to run him with. In some of the videos I've been watching of other people who use them and use them myself, I love him with it. Katana's great because when she steals the buff, he gets the crits up. Dr. Fate works pretty well with him just because he casts his self buff with his shielding, keeps him alive. Mira gives her self buff. Livewire is great with him. I don't have Cheetah geared, which I think that might be on my to-do list this month.
Yeah, I like Cheetah.
She's a great character, and there's always some other Mystic I want to do. But having the strength up buffs plus, he'll get the crit ups from her strength ups pretty good. Wonder Woman Champion, I think, will be good with him. Ares works well, Vixen, and then a team I was experimenting with, you'll see in these videos, it's been really fun, is having Nightwing on the team. Because he self-buffs every time he attacks with his basic. And even whenever he does his primary, he'll do his third ability, he'll buff up. So that helps buff Aquamoa pretty fast. But so far, even when he's fully buffed, he doesn't do as much damage as I was hoping. So I'm not real high on him. I know some others are, but I'm not.
Okay, so overall, right now, we haven't made a decision on whether or not you approve of Aquamoa, but it seems like you're going to want to grab those shards. Anytime they're going to give you shards, you should probably take them. We never know what will happen in the future with his kit. It may rework him, or even he may work better in a future meta. So I would recommend taking the shards if you can get them. You don't necessarily have to build him up or level him up yet. Although, if you are in an alliance, you do get +5 for having him on your team. So it's something you're going to have to consider. And then we do have some video. Some people, unlike us, were lucky enough to get the Steppenwolf early.
Yeah, Seek and Destroy, Seek and Destroy, which you see him on Discord and Reddit. He had some videos up where he had gotten a couple shards of them, enough to unlock them from the anniversary event. So his animations look pretty cool. He looks like a neat character. I think he's going to have potential. So I'm a little high on Steppenwolf right now. He won't shut down this current meta, but he will be good at anti-Harley, and I think might open up some other comps. So we'll see what happens. One other thing I wanted to mention too was, I don't know if anybody noticed, but Wonder Woman got a fix. She's like Hal Jordan Green Lantern now. If she misses with her Fury Azus, no longer strips the buffs, so I was a little disappointed in that.
So that really changes Wonder Woman for you that you were so high on last week.
I still really like her, and I use her in a lot of teams. It's just now you can't use her without having somebody to strip evasion. Before I thought you could ditch Terra and ditch some of the other characters against Harley, but unfortunately with her now, you can't.
If you call me Elf one more time,
You're an angry little elf.
All right, it's time we talked about Deathstroke. We have some members of our alliance who were using 16K teams to beat 30K plus teams. What do you think about the fact that you can plug Deathstroke in and basically use a bunch of undeveloped characters to rank up the leaderboard?
Well, there's been a lot of community topics. I keep seeing thread after thread of, should Deathstroke be nerfed? Is he too powerful? And my honest opinion is that it does break the game to a certain point, because you're able to, what prompted a lot of this was I saw on the top 100, the number 3 person was 11K team. There's a lot of arguments that he has other characters he could be using, but I have seen people use teams that are that weak and defeat extremely powerful teams, and I know for a fact that 16K teams can regularly win. Some of our alliance mates, Mutant Squirrel, World Bear, who goes by Star in game, Neutralize, and Jimmo, supplied some videos. If you're watching the YouTube video version of this, or if you haven't, I would recommend checking into it. You can see those videos. They intentionally keep their teams at level 60 and gear 10 because they're able to get +12 and +18 boards, and they can easily defeat them with these Deathstroke teams. And I don't think that was how the game designers intended the game. One, it disincentivizes you to gear out your characters, so it's plus money for them. But two, it leaves a bad feeling in your mouth when you've been a long-time player and you've invested heavily into 6 to 8 characters that have a core team, or if you're like the rest of the whales and you've invested a ton of money as well to having a big, deep, diverse roster, and then you look on your defense log and you see 16K teams beating your 29K team. In the old days, that would have never happened. So, if you were an 18K or less team facing the 23,000 teams, we typically called you a hacker. So it just wasn't possible before. And now you can beat really anything in the game, and any PvE content they release is going to be limited by this as well.
Yeah, but I think you got to be careful. There's a thin line here because you don't want to make it pay to play, pay to win. Right now, it's you do spend your whale money on gearing out your characters, and I understand the frustration of having a PvP board of nothing but +5s when someone who didn't gear out their characters and doesn't have an extensive toon list to play with can get the +12, +18s to gear, level up in PvP. I don't think that just because you spent money on the game you should have an unfair advantage, but I also see your point of how frustrating it is when you see a board full of +5s.
Well, it's not even that. It's that, okay, if you just started playing the game 3 months ago and you really didn't have very many characters, and then you saw how great Deathstroke was, and then they did a bunch of sales, of course, to capitalize on that, you could invest into one character alone, and as long as you have Lobo, that's all you need. You don't need anything else. A brand new player to the game can compete for the top.
Sure,
the top
but
5
that
spots.
goes to the current meta more so than the game being broken. I think that obviously being someone who left the game in a previous state of the meta, was the arrows. As long as you had the 2 arrows, you could pretty much climb the boards until Reverse Flash came out.
You could climb the board, but you couldn't beat teams that were 10 and 15,000 tiers stronger than your current team. I mean, with that team, investing in one character has never allowed you to completely shut down any other team. I mean, there's rare exceptions, but
to your point, you still need the rezzers, and the rezzers have to be at least 4-star to get the res ability. And of course Lobo. I mean, that's just a whole nother.
Well, I think Lobo's mainly the problem. I think without Lobo there, you wouldn't see this. You wouldn't see nearly as much of an issue because Lobo can. I mean, part of it too is the AI is dumb. The AI wasn't quite so dumb. And I have noticed that the AI does seem to be attacking Deathstroke more. But still, I think longtime players and even new players are getting sick of just seeing it boards and boards of Deathstroke. I mean, the arrows were bad, and you always saw CAGA, Castaway Green Arrow, on most teams because he was so powerful. But this is taking it almost to the next level, which is just it's gotten annoying. And I think that a person who has either played a long time or invested a lot in the game, you can say pay to win, but even without pay to win, just people that have been playing a long time, geared out characters, to just have one character that can just completely shut down everything else, it just doesn't make sense. They need to, an idea I had because we didn't have any counter characters come out, an idea I had for a counter character I thought would be fun and neat would be if you had a character that gained buffs every time an enemy dies. So against non-Lobo teams, or non-resing teams, I don't think it wouldn't be overpowered at all because they would only get buffed 3 times. But then they could get super, if they're
super buffed against a Lobo or the current meta. It would definitely make people reconsider bringing Lobo and Swamp Thing, Grundy, and.
I think it would just shake it up. Well, that is one thing I am excited about these alliance missions is you're going to see people like next week. Tomorrow's the PvP, so I think it was Aquamoa and a few other people that will give you extra points. You're going to see those fill the PvP board, so
I'm excited for that. I think that'll help a lot, especially with these alliances making the big push. And you're going to want to put, I don't think it really changed the PvP board much whenever you only had 3 characters and you only had to put 1 in the lineup. It didn't do you any justice to put all 3 of the characters in the lineup. But now, when you have, the 6 characters to choose from, you're definitely going to want to put as many as you can in your lineup to try to get as many points as you can for your alliance. So I can absolutely see that change in the PvP board, and I don't know if the devs intended that way.
I think they. Well, I hope they did because in either way, it's a positive consequence to it. So that'd be fun to see. Just face new teams, or I think you're the one who mentioned to me before when we were talking offline that just having instead of just nerfing Deathstroke to the ground, which you saw happen with Castaway Green Arrow to a certain point. Just have him limited to 3 deaths. So
right. So no matter if you have Lobo on your team, no matter how many times he dies, you only get the buff 1 time. So that would actually not completely get rid of Deathstroke and just completely ruin him, but it would make it so that he's not going to have these ridiculous buffs where he gets the buff over and over again.
Well, it doesn't even have to be 1 time per character. It could just be a maximum of 3 times they could put in his passive, which I've seen those a maximum of 2 times for an ability, like with Cyborg Superman, his next 2 abilities don't miss. Let's say for the next 3 deaths. So that way Lobo could die 3 times, so he'd still serve the purpose of being a meat shield. But
then after that, he's no longer buffing.
And Deathstroke's still pretty crazy, even at 3.
Yeah, any way you look at it, that would be in my opinion, a great fix to Deathstroke without just completely ruining his kit. As far as a great defense against Deathstroke.
There was a guy in our alliance who had a bleed team, and Percy Lurcy took his strongest Deathstroke team and faced off against it. And it was a cheetah lead with Aquaman, regular Aquaman, not Aquamoa, Siren, and Dr. Poison. And that shut down a res team completely. And
that's nice.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty interesting. I also noticed when Batman TDK does seem to do a pretty good job. Like I mentioned before, actually, for the first time in eons, I had a board filled with defensive wins. I think my team was Superman, Dr. Fate, I want to say Batman TDK, and MJ, and MJ Harley Quinn. And surprisingly, that team held up really well. Superman himself deters a lot of the Lobo, the baby Lobo teams, because he will target him because he's the affinity advantage. And then having Dr. Fate, ever since that fix, he does massive damage. If you haven't played with him since the stealth update, he's doing some great damage.
I'm trying to level him out. I never had him leveled out before I left, and I'm slowly hitting his heroic node to try to get shards. So I'm slowly getting there.
I've actually been using Katana a lot against Deathstroke teams that don't have Harley, because she can just steal all his immunity.
Yeah, you mentioned that. I believe you sent me a video with it, and I've started throwing Katana on my teams as well. Just to speak to where I'm at, I've been back for over a week now, and I've actually climbed the PvP rankings to a point where I'm starting to run into the teams that the Deathstroke Lobo, and I feel that the headache that people have with the Deathstroke Lobo combo, and trying to avoid those teams. But I have attempted to try to beat some of them, like you said, with Katana and some of the bleed characters. Cheetah, I like Cheetah a lot, and it's definitely a headache. I can see why people are so upset with it and why people would want to quit the game. But you do know, Deathstroke is one of my favorite DC characters.
Yeah, and I don't think fighting him isn't nearly as bad as him being able to beat teams that they shouldn't be able to beat. I think that it's more of the crux of the problem. And I'm hoping that, they don't seem like they've released very many characters that made a big difference. But I do think having Superman in these new Alliance packs, he is one of the keys to having a defensive team that can defend against the Baby Lobo teams. So I think once we see him more frequently, we might see some less of those teams. So I am optimistic that might help fix some of the problem.
So you think that if they fix Lobo, that would fix the whole Deathstroke issue?
Yeah, but I don't know a good way to do it. Because his percentage to revive would need to be tied to his overall team, like his overall power ranking, and I don't think the game has a system in place. So I think anti-res characters being released is really the only way that I see it being fixed.
That would be interesting. How would an anti-res?
Well, you already have them. With Dr. Fate does it, Superman does it, and Dr. Poison does it. But the problem is that those three characters aren't super readily available, and Dr. Fate's a little on the slow side. Superman goes before Lobo attacks, so if you have like a Harley Quinn on your team, the counterattack will kill him. I actually don't recommend running Harley Quinn on your team if you're facing a Baby Lobo team anyway, for that reason, especially if you don't have Superman. But, just have possibly an AoE, anti-res, or just more readily availability to the existing ones we have, I think will help fix the problem.
All right, so next week's topics, we're going to be talking about Steppenwolf. Hopefully he'll be out, and we'll have him all geared up and be able to analyze and recommend or not recommend Steppenwolf as a character that you need to work on. I'd like to invite everyone to our Patreon page, patreon.com/WeRRRLegends. We have a list there of different things you can receive as a donor.
And one other thing to mention on that Patreon website, the tiers we have listed are if you donate a certain amount, and that's per episode, and we're only going to include the 4 episodes that we do per month. So we plan to release this weekly. We won't include any other content that we release on that page as part of the patron charge. So, and in those Q&A episodes, we have tiers where you can actually call in live if you want to be on the podcast, or you can just send in your questions, and then we'll do our best to have answers for you. One other thing to mention for next week's topic, we're going to have a gear farming guide as well. We've been working on that for a while, and I know we mentioned we were going to do that for this episode, but we're still compiling more data. Next time, we're going to give you the best opinions from all the best players out there, what the best options are for both free-to-play and pay-to-win players.
Yeah, and that's a good point. We had a lot of questions come in asking us about the gear farming, and some people just didn't quite understand what we were trying to say. So I think the best way to break it down is, as free-to-play players, usually save up all your gems for the weekend event where they have all of the different types of events available, the special events, and use your gems to refresh those to get all the gear, the legendary essence. What am I forgetting? Your
legendary essence and
your blue hopes.
Yeah.
So is it better to save up and get the gear for your characters during that event, or is it better during the week to refresh the individual campaign, the PvE nodes, because it's only 25 gems to refresh it. You can
Well, that's on heroic, on the
regular, yeah, you can just buy energy and keep hitting the regular over and over again and get your green essence as well as your gear for your characters. So that was the basic gist of what we're trying to break down, which one is more effective.
Not to mention that, but even on the gear farming, if node 1, 3, and 5 is better than 2 and 4. So
Sure.
we broke down a ton of those numbers.
Right.
So
So we can actually get into the numbers and see, okay, well, whenever you're doing your gear farming, you're looking for a specific piece of gear, is it better to go to this node and do that one over and over again, or go to a different node? And that just comes down to you're doing it over and over again and collecting the data, and we have people in our guild that are our alliance rather, that are doing it for us as well and giving us their data so that we can compile as much data as we can to give you an accurate picture of what is going to be the best. So thank them for their help on that, and you as well.
And we also want to ask you all to, on iTunes, Google Play, wherever you're listening to this podcast, Stitcher, please rate us. Even if it's a negative review, all review helps. You can tell us how fat and ugly we are.
Very fat, very ugly.
And on the Discord channel for the Reddit universe.
Yes, ask hate mail.
There was a new section added since Doombox isn't playing the game as much as he was before, and he's got some other games that he's been building Discord server and Reddit boards for. So I took over for him. So if you have questions on there, feel free to go on there, and I'll do my best to answer them as fast as possible. And there's plenty of other great players that go in and answer questions as well. If you're listening to this outside of YouTube, make sure you check out the YouTube version. You can see examples of everything we talked about. I should have that up usually just a little bit after this podcast drops into all the audio formats. And you can find the YouTube channel at youtube.com/c/hate-mail.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you.